HowExpert presents Manga Drawing 101, How to Draw Manga Characters Step by Step from A to Z. HowExpert with Rebecca Bauer. Copyright HowExpert, www.howexpert.com. For more tips related to this topic, visit howexpert.com/mangadrawing. Recommended resources: howexpert.com, quick, how-to guides on all topics from A to Z by everyday experts. howexpert.com/free, free HowExpert email newsletter. howexpert.com/books, HowExpert books, howexpert.com/courses, HowExpert courses, howexpert.com/membership, HowExpert membership site, howexpert.com/writers, write about your #1 passion, knowledge, expertise and become a HowExpert author. howexpert.com/resources, additional HowExpert recommended resources, youtube.com/HowExpert, subscribe to HowExpert YouTube. Instagram.com/HowExpert, follow HowExpert on Instagram. Facebook.com/HowExpert, follow HowExpert on Facebook. Table of Contents Recommended Resources. Prologue: The Birth of Manga. Chapter 1, Best-Selling Manga Animation. Chapter 2, Manga Styles. Kodamamake Manga, Shonen Manga, Shoujo Manga, Seinen Manga, Josei Manga. Chapter 3, Wire-Frame Technique. Body Proportions. Outline. Face Shapes. Face Angles. Body Angles. Chapter 4, Manga Features. The Eyes. Manga Features. The Mouth. Manga Features. The Nose. Manga Features. The Head and Face. Manga Expressions. Manga Poses. Manga Clothes. Conclusion about the expert recommended resources. Prologue. The birth of manga. You're more than likely having an itch to learn how to draw manga, otherwise why would you have picked up this book? That is wonderful. We will be teaching you step by step how to draw the different styles of manga, different characters from different TV shows, comics and all of the basics. But first, let's read up on the history of manga and then we'll get started on how to draw everything you need to know. If you're a beginner or even an expert needing a refresher, we can guarantee that you will come out a manga expert. The word manga comes from the Japanese word manhwa, meaning comics. It is made up of the two kanji man, meaning whimsical, and ga, meaning pictures. The term manga is a word that refers to both comics and cartooning in Japan. To the rest of the world, the term tends to refer to comics that originated in Japan. Manga comics have a long and rich history in Japanese art and have been around since the late 19th century. Rakuteu Kitazawa was one of the first people to use the term manga in the modern sense. Its origin being dated back to the 12th century from ancient scrolls. Today, we see it in the way we read manga, right to left. Manga was first seen in Choju Giga, which is a series of drawings that contains frogs and rabbits. The manga term was first used in the year of 1798 to describe a picture book known as Sijino Yukakai or Four Seasons by Sato Kyoden. It showed back up in the year of 1814 to describe a Kawamina and Hokusal's books. Today, manga is an important aspect on who Japan is as a whole. In Japan, people of all ages read and watch manga, quickly gaining a worldwide audience. There are a broad range of genres, which include action, business, comedy, historical drama, horror, mystery, romance, fantasy, suspense and sports. There are also different types of manga: kodamamake, shonen, shoujo, seinen, and josei. Each represents a different type of manga which we will talk about in Chapter 2. After World War II, young teenage boys emerged as the first readers. From 1950 to 1969, two major groups formed, creating two main styles of manga, shonen and shoujo. Shoujo continued to still develop until the mid to late 1970s while also evolving and overlaying different subgenres, such as romance, superheroes and lady comics, also known today as josei manga. People of all ages are mesmerized by how manga looks and how the emotions are portrayed alongside the clean black and white lines. Manga has been a steadily growing industry since the 1950s, representing an almost $4 billion market in 2016. Gaining a worldwide audience in Europe, the Middle East, US, and Canada. In France, manga represents 10 times the amount that the United States has consecutively produced, representing a €260 million profit. In 2016, the sales of manga prints had decreased from the previous year's profit, amounting to nearly 195 billion yen. The manga print market has shown a steadily decrease since the mid-1990s, but the digital manga market has shown a steady increase of over 145 billion yen. This shows how the digital end of manga is becoming more mainstream as the years go by. Manga stories have typically been printed in black and white, but there are full-color manga that exist. The first publication of manga was in 1874 as a magazine created by Eshinbun Nippuchi. It contained simple drawings and ended after 3 issues, due to not selling as expected. In 1905, the publishing of manga boomed because of the Russo-Japanese War. When a manga story is published into a magazine, it is usually only an episode at a time along with multiple other stories competing to gain popularity. These episodes continue into the next issue until they become quite popular, resulting in them in being republished into paperback volumes and books. In Japan, a manga artist will typically work in a small studio with only a few assistants. In America, we see much larger companies working in well-populated areas creating Western manga. Once a series becomes popular enough, animation of that storyline will be produced or added onto an already existing manga animation. In the next section, we will be talking about the best-selling manga comics of today. Chapter 1, Best-Selling Manga. First off, we have One Piece created by Eiichiro Oda. The story follows a young man named Monkey D. Luffy who sets out on a journey to find a lost treasure known as One Piece so he can hold the title of King of the Pirates. Luffy assembles his own crew, naming them the Straw Hat Pirates. He rescues a few stragglers along the way, making his crew more of a unique bunch. Each member of the Straw Hat Pirates contains a special gift that pushes them further into their journey than they would have expected. Luffy and the Straw Hat Pirates do run into a few other crews that are trying to find the lost treasure, and this makes their adventure drag out. But this action-packed manga is one to keep you on your toes. Number 2 on the top 10 list is Golgo 13, created by Takao Saito. Golgo 13, also known as Duke Togo, is the story of a professional assassin named Duke Togo. He does not have any known information regarding his age, birthplace, and who he truly is. Duke Togo doesn't care what type of assassination job he takes, as long as the people hiring him on can afford his services. He also doesn't give a care about who you are, but if you try to expose him, he will kill you. Carrying a scoped M16 rifle, this makes Togo a dangerous and wanted dead by all man. He ends up getting the FBI, CIA, and United States military on his back and has to now remain aware of his surroundings in order to not be caught. The name is said to be a reference to the death of Christ. Even Togo's logo is a skeleton with a crown of thrones. Togo is rumored to have fathered many children from the endless sexual interactions he has had over the years, making Golgo 13 sound a lot like James Bond. Coming in third place is Dragon Ball, which is created by Akira Toriyama. Dragon Ball follows the childhood adventures to adult adventures of Son Goku. He is training in martial arts and aims to explore the world in search of the 7 globes. These 7 globes are known as Dragon Balls. They summon a dragon that grants the summoner a wish when all 7 are gathered and brought together. Along Goku's journey, he comes across many different individuals that either become friend or foe, resulting in a wide variety of battles. These individuals are also on their own journey to seek out the Dragon Balls. But it all boils down to whether who will be the one to gather all 7, hero or villain. Number 4 on the best-selling manga comics list is Kochira Katsushika ku Kamiri Konmei Hashitsuho. The plot of Kochikame involves Ryo-san inventing a new gadget which leads to him making a money-making scheme. He achieves great success, but things start to turn sour, so he seeks help from Keiichi Nakagawa. The plot is humorous and gag-driven due to the characters being out of place with one another. The characters come from all types of backgrounds, such as wealth and being transsexual. The one thing that each character in Kochira Katsushika ku Kamiri Konmei Hashitsuho is the fact that they all work in law enforcement. This manga comic mocks the latest fads and trends and is an all-around innocent comic, having little violence and risque topics that gives the reader a chance to laugh. Case Closed, also known as Detective Conan, is number 5 on the best-selling manga comic list. It is written and illustrated by Gosho Aoyama and started off in Shogakukan's weekly Shonen Sunday magazine back in early 1994. The plot follows a high school student named Jimmy Kudo who helps the local law enforcement solve cases. During one of his investigations, he gets attacked by a gang called the Black Organization. He is forcibly injected with an experimental poison that turns him into a child. Jimmy Kudo hides his true identity by taking the name Conan Edogawa and living with a close friend and her father, Richard. Rachel's father works for the law enforcement as a private detective and Conan aka Jimmy helps him on a few of his cases. One of the cases Conan is able to solve, so he uses a sleeping tranquilizer on Richard. He then uses a voice changer to give the solution to the case. Enrolling in an elementary school, he makes friends with a group of classmates that forms the Junior Detective Club. As Conan continues to try to solve the case on the Black Organization, he ends up interacting with a variety of individuals with different backgrounds. One of these individuals is a transfer student named Anita Haley, also known as Ai Haibara. Conan finds out that she is the one who invented the poison that was injected into him. She injected the poison into herself and has no ties to the Black Organization anymore. Anita ends up joining the junior detectives to help out. Created by Masashi Kishimoto, Part 1 of Naruto starts with a powerful fox known as the Nine Tails attacking Konoha, then becoming entrapped inside of Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto's father dies and Naruto doesn't know that he is a host. 12 years pass and Mizuki, a renegade ninja, reveals the truth to Naruto. Shortly after, Naruto becomes a ninja for Team 7 where they do a wide variety of missions and eventually take the Chunin exams to do difficult missions. While taking the exams, Orochimaru, a criminal, attacks the Konoha village. After the battle, Naruto and Jiraiya leave to search for Tsunade, who is to become the 5th Hokage. All of a sudden, Sasuke leaves and a group of ninjas try retrieving him. Naruto leaves to gain training from Jiraiya. Part 2 starts with Naruto returning from training 2.5 years later. The Akatsuki has kidnapped everybody who is a host and Team 7 fights against them while trying to find Sasuke. The Akatsuki succeed in gaining 7 of the tailed beasts. Sasuke, who had teamed up with Orochimaru, betrays him and seeks revenge on his brother Itachi. After Itachi dies, Sasuke finds out that an order to destroy Itachi's clan was issued. Becoming devastated, he teams up with the Akatsuki and seeks revenge again. There is a huge battle and many deaths, resulting in a near-death experience for Naruto. Characters that are supposed to be dead, pretend to be other characters and eventually reveal their identities. Sasuke rejoins Team 7, Madara becomes possessed, Sasuke takes control of the tailed beasts, another fight takes place and Naruto becomes the 7th Hokage. Oishinbo comes in next, taking 7th place on the top 10 list. It was created by Tetsu Kariya and illustrated by Akira Hanasaki. Oishinbo depicts a journalist named Shiro Yamaoka and his partner Yuko Kurita. They go on many different adventures regarding the culinary arts. Oishinbo is a long-running cooking manga and if you are somebody who loves the taste, smell and look of food, this is the manga for you. Slam Dunk, written and illustrated by Takehiko Inoue, is about a delinquent and leader of a gang named Hanamichi Sakuragi who isn't popular with the ladies at all. In his first year at Shohoku High School, he meets Haruko Akaji who just so happens to be the girl of his dreams. He finds out that she is not scared of him like the rest of the girls. Haruko tells Hanamichi to join the basketball team because he has an athletic ability that could be a benefit to the Shohoku basketball team. Hanamichi is reluctant to join at first because he sees basketball as a sport for losers but he eventually proves to be a natural athlete and joins to impress Haruko. It turns out that he actually has a love for the sport. Rukawa, a rival of Hanamichi and a girl magnet, also joins at the same time and then shortly after, Mitsui and Miyajo join. These four struggles to fulfill the captain's dream of winning the championship but eventually gain publicity and become all-stars. Doraemon, written and illustrated by Fujiko F. Fujio, is about a young boy named Nobita Nobi who doesn't do the greatest in school, is bullied, and is plagued with sadness and jealousy. After many years, one of the descendants of Nobi sends a robotic cat named Doraemon back into the past to look after the young Nobi. On the front of Doraemon there is a pocket that carries all types of items, such as toys, medicine, future technology. Young Nobi's closest friend is named Shizuka Minamoto, who eventually becomes his wife. His bullies are usually Takeshi Goda, also known as Gion, and Tsuneo Honikawa. A typical story consists of Doraemon using one of his gadgets in order to assist Nobita in various ways, often causing more trouble than he was trying to solve. The Kandaichi case files are written by Yosaburo Kanari and, depending on the series, Shimaru Amagi, and illustrated by Fumiya Sato. It is a Japanese mystery style of manga that is based on a high school student named Hajime Kandaichi going on adventures and solving crimes. Kandaichi is the supposed grandson of the famous private detective Kosuke Kandaichi. Best-selling manga animation taking number 1 on the top 10 list of best-selling manga animation is Spirited Away, created by Hayao Miyazaki. In Spirited Away, a 10-year-old named Chihiro Agino is traveling with her parents to their new home. Her father takes a wrong turn and they enter a magical world. Chihiro meets a boy named Haku, where he warns her that she must leave before sunset, and when she returns to her parents, she realizes that it's too late. For her parents have turned to pigs and they are trapped in the spirit world. Haku finds Chihiro again and tells her to seek employment from Kamaji, the bathhouse's boiler man. He refuses her and sends her to Yubaba, the witch who runs the bathhouse. After trying to scare Chihiro away, she offers her employment and also takes her name. Now known as Sen, she is warned to not forget her name, as she will then be trapped in the spirit world forever. Sen ends up inviting a silent masked creature named No Face inside, thinking that he is a customer. She finds a paper shikigami attacking a dragon, which she notices is Haku. He then crashes into Yubaba's home, where Zeniba appears and takes Bo, turning him into a mouse and then diving into the boiler room. Part of the dumpling is given to Haku, where he vomits up the stolen seal and a black slug. Sen decides that she will return the seal and apologize on behalf of Haku. Before she leaves, she meets No Face and gives him the rest of her dumpling. He chases her out of the bathhouse while vomiting everything he has eaten. Sen, No Face, and Bo head to where Zeniba is to see him, while Yubaba orders for Sen's parents to be slaughtered. Haku negotiates that he will retrieve the missing Bo if Sen can be free. But if Sen happens to fail, the deal is broken. Sen, No Face and Bo have now met up with Zeniba, who has revealed that Yubaba used the black slug to control what Haku did. Haku shows up, taking Sen and Bo back to the bathhouse. When they arrive, Yubaba makes Sen pick her parents out from a group of pigs, but Sen reveals that her parents are not actually there. Sen is given back her real name and crosses the river back to her parents, who do not remember anything. They walk back to their car and Chihiro takes one last look at the magical world, ending the movie with the family driving away. Next on the list is Howl's Moving Castle by Hayao Miyazaki. The movie starts off with Sophie headed to visit her sister and then encountering a wizard whose name is Howl. When she returns home, the Witch of the Waste and her come into contact, resulting in Sophie being turned into a 90-year-old woman. Wanting to break the curse, she leaves her home to go to the countryside. There she meets a living scarecrow, which is given the name of Turnip Head. He leads her to Howl's Moving Castle, where Sophie meets Markle, Howl's apprentice, and Calcifer, a fire demon that is also the castle's magic source. Howl appears, and Sophie announces that she is the maid. Whilst this is going on, Sophie's home nation has begun a war with the neighboring kingdom. Howl is summoned by the king to fight, but Howl has a different plan and he sends Sophie to the kingdom with news that Howl is a coward. Sophie is given a ring that binds her to Calcifer. She meets the king's advisor and the Witch of the Waste again. But Solomon punishes the witch, turning her into an old woman, and threatens that if Howl doesn't fight, he will be punished also. Howl arrives, Solomon tries to catch him, but is left empty-handed as Howl, Sophie and the witch escape. Howl has been interfering with both sides of the war by turning into a bird-like creature and being bound to Calcifer. Each time that he turns into the bird-like creature, it causes his human form to dwindle and fade evermore. The castle is then tied to Sophie's home and is bombarded shortly after. Sophie moves everyone out, including Calcifer, who was in the fireplace. This causes the castle to collapse and Sophie dewezes the witch and Calcifer with water, which causes a chasm to open up, separating Sophie from the rest of the group. Sophie enters a scene of the past, where Howl catches Calcifer from falling and gives him his heart. Sophie tells them to find her in the future and then is teleported away. Now, she's in the present where she meets Howl, reunited with the others. Howl's heart is returned, reviving him and freeing Calcifer. The curse on Sophie is broken and Turnip Head becomes human again, revealing that he is the missing prince. Suleiman ends the war and the group of ragged individuals are seen flying in the sky in their new castle. Princess Mononoke by Hayao Miyazaki comes in third for best-selling manga animations. It starts off with an Amishi village located in Muramachi, Japan being attacked by a demon. Ashitaka, the last prince of Amishi, kills it, but becomes. This curse gives him unhuman strength and will eventually kill him. The demon that Ashitaka had killed is revealed to be a boar god named Nago, that was corrupted by an iron ball located inside of him. The cure lies in the lands located in the west that Nago had come from. Heading on his long journey, Ashitaki meets Jigo, who is a monk. Jago tells him to seek the great forest spirit's help. Nearby, there is a group of men being led by Lady Eboshi, herding oxen to Irontown, but they are soon attacked by a pack of wolves that are being led by Moro. One of the wolves is carrying San, a human girl. Ashitaka finds two Irontown men injured and rushes them through the forest. There he encounters many different Kodamas and even glimpses the forest spirit. Returning to Irontown, it is revealed to Ashitaka that Eboshi had built their village on a forest that had been torn down in order to produce iron. This led to conflicts with the forest gods and Asano. Social outcasts, lepers, and many others that are unwanted in their home villages flock to Irontown. Eboshi also reveals that San was raised by the wolves and now resents all of humankind. Later on, San takes Irontown hostage in order to kill Eboshi but is interrupted when Ashitaka steps in. As he leaves, he is shot but continues on, carrying San out of Irontown. When San finally awakens, she immediately tries to kill Ashitaka, who is now weakened. The only thing that stops her is when Ashitaka tells her she is beautiful. Taking him to the forest spirit, she decides that he is trustworthy. Meanwhile, the blind god of a boar clan named Akoto decides to attack Irontown to save the forest. Eboshi alongside Jigo prepares for the battle by heading into the forest for the forest spirit's head. Ashitaka shortly recovers and heads back to Irontown, where he finds it overrun with samurai. The boar clan is extinguished and Jigo's men disguise themselves to trick Akoto to lead them to the forest spirit. San tries to stop him but is overtaken by his demonic corruption. Moro steps in and Ashitaka saves San, while the forest spirit lets Akoto and Moro go. Transforming into the Nightwalker, Eboshi decapitates it. Everything the ooze that is bleeding out of the Nightwalker's body touches, ends up dying. Jigo steals the head while the forest and Kodama begin dying. The samurai leave and Irontown is evacuated while Ashitaka and San search for Jigo and the Nightwalker's head. The forest spirit dies when the sun fully rises and heals the land, also lifting Ashitaka's curse. He stays to help rebuild Irontown and promises that he will visit San. Eboshi comes back, vowing to make the town better, and the forest starts to regrow. A Kodama comes out of the undergrowth as the animation ends. Written and illustrated by Masanori Oda under the pen name of Masamune Suro, Ghost in the Shell takes spot number 4. Set in the mid-21st century, Ghost in the Shell takes place in Nihama Prefecture, also known as Newport City. The entirety of the manga follows a group of members of the Public Security Section 9, which is a special operations task force. This task force is made up of former military officers and police detectives. Political intrigue, counter-terrorism operations, corrupt officials and companies along with cyber criminals are the day-to-day events that the Section 9 has to care for in order to prevent different incidents from escalating. This manga is a post-cyberpunk future, where technology has advanced to the point that many of the members of Section 9 have cyberbrains, which allows them to connect with different interfaces and networks. These cyberbrains combined with other levels of prosthesis can turn a person into a full-blown cyborg. The main character, Major Motoko Kusanagi, is made up of a full-bodied prosthesis and a cyberbrain due to a terrible accident as a child. There's only one problem with being a full-on cyborg such as Major Motoko Kusangi, that is the various cyber attacks from highly skilled hackers wanting to bend the victim to do their every whim. Grave of the Fireflies by Isao Takahata. The animation starts off in September 21, 1945, shortly after World War II. Seita, a teenage boy, has died of starvation in a train station. A janitor begins sifting through Seita's belongings, finding a candy tin that is tossed into a field. From this tin Seita's little sister emerges, finally able to reconnect with her brother. Joined by a cloud of fireflies, they board a train. A few months later, a house is blown up by firebombing. Seita and Setsuko make it out just fine, but their mother dies from severe burns. Moving in with their aunt, she begins to resent the children as they did not earn the food. Refugees gather rapidly within the house and Seita is asked to sell all of his mother's belongings except Sakuma drops. They decide to leave, moving into an abandoned bomb shelter. Using fireflies as their light source, Setsuko becomes horrified when she awakens to them dead. She buries them in a shallow grave and asks why everyone is dying. They begin running out of rice, so Seita goes out during air raids to loot homes. Setsuko becomes sick and is taken to a doctor. It's revealed that she is suffering from malnutrition and the doctor doesn't help at all. Seita panics and withdraws all of his mother's money from her account. As he's leaving, it's revealed that Japan has surrendered and that majority of the Japanese Navy has been sunken. Finally returning to the shelter with a large amount of food, he finds Setsuko on the verge of death. He quickly prepares her food but she passes before he can finish. Seita cremates her and stores her in a candy tin that he carries alongside his father's photograph. The two's deceased spirits arrive at their destination, happy, healthy and sitting on a bench looking over what Kobe looks like now. Next, we have My Neighbor Totoro by Hayao Miyazaki. In Japan of 1958, a university professor named Tatsuya Kusakabe has two daughters, Satsuki and Mei. They move into an old house so they can be closer to their mother, Yasuko, who is in the hospital suffering from a long-term illness. The two girls find Susuwatari, which is essentially a dust bunny, living amongst the house. One day, Mei is outside when all of a sudden, she sees two white rabbit ears. She follows them under the house where two spirits are revealed. They take her through a briar patch and into a camphor tree. Mei finally meets Totoro but is unable to show her family Totoro's tree. It's revealed that he is the keeper of the forest and will reveal himself to others when he's ready. One rainy night, Tatsuya's daughters wait for their father's bus to arrive. When it doesn't show up on time, Totoro shows himself to Satsuki giving them a bag of seeds in return for the umbrella they gave him. They go home and plant the seeds. A few days later, they awaken to find Totoro and two of his friends dancing around the seeds that they planted. The girls join in the dance and the seeds sprout, growing into a huge tree. By the next morning, the tree is no longer there but the seeds did sprout and it's revealed that their trip to Yasuko is being postponed due to a treatment setback. The two girls argue and Mei walks off, which causes the neighbors and Satsuki to go searching for her. When they are unable to find her, Satsuki goes to the camphor tree and pleads for help from Totoro. He hears her pleas and helps her by taking her to where Mei is, then they fly to the countryside to sit on a perch, looking in on their parents talking. They leave an ear of corn on the windowsill and then return home. Eventually, Yasuko returns home. Number 7 on the top 10 manga animation is Ponyo, written by Hayao Miyazaki and animated by Studio Ghibli. Ponyo is about a scientist that was once a human named Fujimoto who lives underwater with his daughters, mainly Brunhilde. She sneaks off, riding off on a jellyfish back where she eventually drifts off to the shore in a glass jar. She is rescued by a 5-year-old named Sosuke, who shatters the jar with a rock and accidentally cuts his finger on the glass. Brunhilde licks the cut, healing it instantly. This is when Sosuke names her Ponyo and promising to always protect her. Meanwhile, Fujimoto searches for his daughter and they argue. She decides to become a human and uses magic given to her by Sosuke's blood to grow legs and arms. But is taken back to her home. Fujimoto leaves to get Ponyo's mother Grandmamere while Ponyo's sisters help her escape again. This time, she becomes fully human causing a tsunami and returns to Sosuke, which his mother allows her to stay. They wait out the storm, but Sosuke's mother gets worried about the residents at the nursing home she works at, so she goes to check in on them. While this is going on, Grandma Mare arrives at Fujimoto's submarine where they talk about Sosuke passing a test in order for Ponyo to remain a human. The next morning, majority of the land is covered with water from the ocean. So, Ponyo takes Sosuke's toy boat and makes it bigger, which they take to go see his mother. When they make it the forest, Ponyo becomes tired and starts to fall asleep, but the candle that is powering the boat is starting to go out. When Ponyo isn't able to stay awake, Sosuke pushes the boat to shore where he comes across his mother's car. Ponyo awakens and they head toward a tunnel, where Ponyo turns into a fish because she used way too much magic. Sosuke's mother and the nursing home residents are given a temporary ability to breathe underwater, and they are patiently waiting for Ponyo and Sosuke to arrive. Fujimoto captures them, taking them to the nursing home and reuniting Sosuke with his mother. Here he meets Grandma Mare and is asked if he can love Ponyo. When he agrees, Grandma Mare puts Ponyo in a bubble and tells Sosuke that when he kisses the bubble, Ponyo will finally be a human. Akira is written by Otomo and Izo Hashimoto and is about at Neo Tokyo and the crime that takes place there. One night, a bunch of protests allow Shitaro Kaneda to lead his gang, the Capsules, in a fight against their enemies, the Clowns. Kaneda's friend, Tetsuo Shima, runs into Takashi, who is a psychic esper, recently escaped. Later, Takashi is escorted home while Tetsuo is hospitalized. When Kaneda and his gang are interviewed by the police, he sees Kei and tricks the police into letting her go. It's revealed that Tetsuo has a psychic ability similar to Akira. Kyoko tries to warn Shikishima, but he decides that he might just execute Tetsuo. All of a sudden, Tetsuo escapes and steals Kaneda's motorcycle but is soon ambushed, leading to another hospitalization. Kaneda rescues Kei, trying to get information about what happened to Tetsuo. He teams up with Shikishima and Kei to get Tetsuo to stop fighting, but they are soon overpowered by his new powers. Kyoko tells him that Akira can help him, so he goes to seek her out, and Kyoko also helps Kei and Kaneda to escape. During all of this, Shikishima stages a coup and has a manhunt out on Tetsuo. Tetsuo travels through Neo Tokyo, taking out forces on Shikishima's side, until he finally reaches the cryogenic storage door that is holding Akira. Kei and Tetsuo fight, with him being the victor, and then he exposes Akira's remains. Kaneda then decides to fight Tetsuo, but Tetsuo destroys the satellite and builds himself a prosthetic arm psychically, causing him to bend over in pain. Shikishima and Kaori approach, offering drugs to help Tetsuo control the abilities, but then Kaneda comes back to fight again. This fight causes him to lose control of the power and results in him growing in size, engulfing Kaneda, killing Kaori. Akira is awakened by the espers and creates another dimension, pulling Kaneda and Tetsuo into it. Shikishima is teleported to a safe distance and Neo Tokyo is destroyed. The espers then decide to rescue Kaneda as they won't be able to return to Neo Tokyo now. Kaneda is able to experience the espers' childhood, finds out that Kei is developing psychic powers and that she along with Kai are safe. Tetsuo triggers the Big Bang, which in return will create a better universe. Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind is in the number 9 spot for top 10 manga animations. It was directed by Hayao Miyazaki and it is about life after an apocalyptic war that destroyed everything and created the toxic jungle. There is a prophecy within the story that predicts there is someone who can save them. Nausicaa is the princess of the Valley of the Wind. She goes around trying to find a way for the mutant insects and the humans to live in harmony. Later that night, an aircraft crashes even after Nausicaa tried to save them. There is only one survivor, Princess Listel of Pejete, who then begs for the aircraft to be destroyed before passing on. Nausicaa finds out that the aircraft is actually an embryo of a giant warrior, the bioweapons that created the 7 Days of Fire. It was stolen by Tolmekia and Princess Listel but eventually became overrun by insects, causing it to crash. All of a sudden, Princess Kushana led Tolmekian troops to execute Nausicaa's father and capture the valley. He becomes enraged but is eventually interrupted by Lord Yupa. Kushana wants the giant warrior to burn down the toxic jungle. Yupa finds out that plants can grow in clean soil and water. Then Kushana takes Nausicaa and 5 others into the capital as hostages. but they are halted when they are shot down by a Pejite interceptor who turns out to be Princess Listel's brother. When Nausicaa goes to save him, they end up falling through quicksand, revealing that the water and soil underground are purified. They return to Pejite where they come across a bunch of insects ravaging the city and will eventually ravage the valley. Nausicaa is captured but escapes with help from Aspel's family and friends. She flies home where she finds not only the Pejite soldiers trying to get into the valley and also the Tolmekians. Quickly helping the baby Ohm and gaining its trust, she eventually gets run over by the rest of the herd but then is resuscitated. When she is lifted up by the Ohm's tentacles, Nausicaa has fulfilled the prophecy. Everybody leaves except the Pahites, who help rebuild the valley, and underneath the toxic jungle, a non-toxic tree grows. Last but not least, Castle in the Sky, written and directed by Hayao Miyazaki, makes it on the top 10 list of manga animations. It is about a girl named Shida, who was abducted by the government and attacked because there are people who want her crystal amulet. She eventually falls into a small mining town and discovered by Pazu. He takes her home so she can recover and tells her stories about the floating island called Laputa. Pazu and Shida are chased into an abandoned mine by pirates and soldiers. Here they meet Uncle Palm. It's revealed by Palm that the crystal is actually a Volucite crystal, Aetherium crystal in America, and it is used to keep the flying cities afloat. It's also revealed that Shida's full name is Lucida Tol Ui Laputa. The two of them are soon captured by Muska, who tries to bribe Shida into cooperating with him. Pazu is let go, where he returns home. Here he is ambushed but then joins forces with Dola's sons. Shida activates the amulet, destroying the castle, and is then saved by Pazu, and Muska steals the amulet. Returning to their ship, they follow Muska's ship until they reach Laputa the next day, finding out that it is overgrown and ruined. Pazu and Shida get separated, resulting in Muska capturing her once again. They get to the center of Laputa and Muska betrays his soldiers by unleashing the city's weapon of mass destruction. Shida becomes horrified and takes off with her crystal. She hands it off to Pazu through a hole in a wall and is then cornered by Muska, who was chasing her. Shida confronts Muska, telling him that the people of the city left because they realized that man was supposed to be living on the earth and not in the sky. But Muska doesn't want to believe her, so he threatens to kill her. Pazu asks if he can speak to Shida, and the two of them recite a spell that destroys the city, crushing Muska to death. When Pazu and Shida finally reunite with Dola and her pirates, the two decide to go home and start a life together. Now that you have gotten some information on the top 10 manga comics and manga animations, it's time to give you a bit more information on the different manga styles available to this day. The next chapter talks about each style and gives some examples of manga comics, animations that are known to each.